Welcome to Made for Mondays, the source for digging a little deeper into the Believers Church Sunday messages and finding ways to apply them to our daily lives. Together, let's take a deeper look and find a way to bring Mondays back to life.
Hey everybody, welcome to the pod. My name is Heather, and who are you fellas?
Howdy, Heather. It's me, Jamie.
Good morning. Joe here.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
How was your weekend?
Tedious.
Tedious.
That's the word I would use. Yeah.
What a good word for Monday morning.
So,
and you're tired too.
I am tired
From your tedious weekend.
Had to
from
been
my
yard work.
tedious. Well, no, it was assembling patio furniture.
Okay, close
boy.
enough.
Yeah. So like 3 hours on Friday and 5 hours on Saturday.
And was it all with an Allen wrench?
Yes, it
That's
was.
the problem.
Yeah, blisters on my one finger
Right.
from doing this all weekend. Yeah. But it looks really nice.
Oh, well, that's good.
I mean, the porch isn't done yet, but the furniture is done.
Okay.
So yeah, one little step at a time.
All right.
But yeah, that was pretty much my weekend. Bonnie was not feeling great, so
Oh.
we were supposed to get the grandkids. Didn't pan out this weekend.
Is it from allergy stuff, you think?
I think it's from her 3 weeks of
Just
depletion.
exhaustion.
Yeah, she just kind of wore herself
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
You didn't have your Sunday dinner celebration?
Nope, not really. I mean,
wow.
had a meal, but
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
I did eat, but it wasn't necessarily a celebration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joey, what'd you do?
Next Sunday.
Okay. Yeah. Our weekend was great. Baseball's becoming more and more of a thing
Yeah.
as each game and each season goes along. I just love like the whole day. The whole family loves getting out there. We have
And
friends.
didn't you say you have torpedo bats?
Yeah,
Oh,
our little
boy.
mini Brox and Bombers out there. I'm about to order them some new bats. We had the other coach ask us again, how often do we practice? I'm like, none, man. It's just
We're just that good.
we're just that good. The mini Bronx Bombers. And they wanted to play outs, which I've never done because I'm like, when they get to the next field, like that's not a hard skill to learn. Like just let them stay on the bases for now.
Because how old are they?
They're 6 and
Yeah.
7. And finally I was like, you know what? Let's play outs. Because now I got my little clipboard over here. I'm actually going to keep score now too. So, yeah, we won. Yeah, we're 2-0. We're 2-0, unofficial, but we won.
So you're not supposed to keep score? in
No,
this
we don't
league?
keep score,
Okay.
and you
Everyone
don't
wins,
really.
Jamie.
Yeah.
Everyone
Everyone
wins.
wins for now.
That's so great. Yeah, that's what makes our world better.
Yeah, I guess until you get to a certain age, at least. Yeah, actually.
I had someone yesterday. I was walking around the auditorium saying hello to folks, and this person said, I brought someone with me today, and they said, do I get an A? And I said, oh, we don't do A's or F's because we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I'll give you a check mark. So it's kind of like that. You know, we're not keeping score.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And Saturday we went, all this was Saturday. It was a busy day. But after his game, we went out to Smithfield. And have y'all been to Warfield?
Yes.
Yes, I love that place.
Yeah.
We used to go there a lot when we lived in Smithfield and haven't been
Yeah, I
there in a
haven't
while.
been in a while either.
Yeah, we went there and then we went to Summerwind Winery.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had never been there. It was okay. If you're out there, it's a good spot. Don't
Great
go all the way.
Yeah.
Don't go all the way to Smithfield for
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
But if you're out there, it is a cool spot. Like
Yeah, we try not to give negative reviews,
Joey.
but that was really close. That was borderline.
We need to have a pre-chat with Joey.
yeah, sorry, I didn't know we did that.
Yeah,
I thought we were giving honest. That's far enough away, right?
yeah,
I think.
sure.
I don't know. We got some peeps here from Smithfield. I might get some backlash on that one.
Yeah, you might.
Yeah.
All right. We did.
I mean, you don't keep score on the baseball, but you're gonna ding a
right. Okay.
local business. All right.
Oh, now I feel bad because it is this cute little like mom and pop place off the road.
And now they're crying.
Yeah. We had a fun and productive weekend.
Nice.
So Friday, we went up to Richmond for the day, just for a fun day. We went to one of our places that we went with you and Bonnie one time, Can
Oh, yeah. Love that
rotisserie up in Carytown,
Yep.
which is so good. It's
So
a French restaurant. And Nate and I were trying to remember. Did we go just for dinner, or were we going for dinner and something else?
I feel like there was something else.
So do we, but we can't remember what it was.
I don't recall.
Anyway,
the meal was great.
The meal was great.
Yes.
So we went for lunch this time, and it was wonderful. So yeah, if you're ever in Richmond and want to swing by Carytown, which is also a wonderful neighborhood just to walk around, the weather was beautiful.
Yeah.
And then we went on the canal walk and went to a little brewery on our way back. Then we got stuck in traffic on the way home, so we went down by the shipyard and stuff and killed some time down there because might as well do that instead of sitting in traffic.
Let me take some notes real quick. That's how you do an endorsement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even when you're not, not in town.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yep. Never happen again.
Right. So we did that on Friday, and then came home, and Spen Ken were at our house, so we hung out with them for the evening. And then on Saturday, we were finishing our long closet project that we've been working on. But yeah, we finally got that knocked out. And then my father-in-law has been home for a little bit now, and he wanted to go out for lunch.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So we got to go out for lunch. So
that's nice.
We did that, and that was wonderful. And then he even went and got his hair cut. He was just a busy man on Saturday. So we were very excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And yeah, then we finished our house projects and stuff on Saturday. So it felt.
Did you finish the closet project without arguing?
You
said you said you started and it was a great moment.
No arguing.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it was
that's
beautiful.
Tough to do.
I know. It really is. But yeah, so we had just a great weekend all around.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So you guys, last week we talked about how it was our 5-year birthday.
Yeah.
And so we are going to pick a winner.
All right.
Out of these hundreds of entries.
So many people participated.
Wow. I hope you're not watching because the bowl is huge. It's taking up the whole table. There's so many people that completed the requirements to enter.
I think it's a jelly bean jar.
maybe just no one wanted to win our prize. Anyway. Okay, Jamie, pick a winner.
What do they get?
What
do they get again?
They have first of all, they have a 33% chance to win.
That's not true.
Whoever submitted, you got a 1 in 4 chance.
10% chance of winning. They get a $250 gift card. There will be a variety of gift cards to some of our favorite restaurants.
Cool. Yeah.
Which does
do not include Joey's pick.
I know a great spot in Smithfield.
Jill Parker.
Oh,
look at our winner.
Yeah. Look at that.
Yay. So, Jill.
Way to go, Jill.
We will have your gift cards ready for you on Sunday. You can pick them up at Connect Central.
Woohoo.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Congrats,
Hooray.
Jill.
Congratulations.
And if you want to share with the other 4 people, we can let you know.
There's more than 4 people, Jamie Stewart. Don't be a jerk. Okay. What a knucklehead. All right.
Supposed to transition into Bible reading now?
Bible reading challenge. We were in Titus, Philemon. We spent a little bit of time in the Psalms. Anything
this morning in the Psalms.
Yeah. Stick out to you? Nate was very discouraged by the Psalm this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, one of them was
34 and 35.
Yeah, Psalm 34, which is a great passage.
Yes. I think
God is
35
close to the brokenhearted. Yeah, 35 was a little tougher than 34. That's true. And even in 34, there's a couple really great verses that I read a lot of times at funerals.
Yes.
But you don't want to read the whole psalm.
Right.
That would not be great for a funeral.
No.
Yeah.
Be selective. But yeah, anyway, Did anything stick out to y'all this week?
Yeah. Thanks for saying that name so I get it right. Philemon. In Philemon yesterday, it stood out to me. We're seeing Paul again break down these cultural barriers. We've seen it with Jews and Gentiles and circumcised, uncircumcised, and now with slavery. And the extension of grace that he's asking in this moment. It brought me back to a spot where in our forgiveness series, is Forgiveness Out of Reach, about a month ago in B Group, I shared this story, and it's been on my heart since. I want to reach out and give this guy a call. But at my time at the shipyard, when I left there, like everybody there that was considered friends, like I didn't, nobody talked to me. And they actually kind of reported some of the stuff I was saying. I was just trying to reach out for forgiveness, actually. And except one guy, and that guy met me, and he was just as, heartbroken and angry with me for the mistakes that I had made as anyone else. But he took me up on that offer, and we went and got dinner, and we both just let it all out there. And he showed this moment of forgiveness here, like we're seeing in this, where he didn't have to. Culture was telling him, just like he's telling him in that culture says we can do it this way. Like, we don't need to be friends anymore. This thing is now 2 years in, and I've moved past it, and he chose grace. And I've been stuck in that for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah.
So I think the Holy Spirit's telling me to reach out to him.
Yeah.
They live in Lynchburg now. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, this week we were continuing our Let 'em Eat series, and we were talking about amplifying our prayers.
Yes.
But to start off the message, Jamie, you really challenged us once again, because we're in this series kind of leading up to Easter, and you challenged us with the thought of who is our one.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering kind of if you can remind us about what that's all about.
Yeah.
And then we can just remind everyone what we're doing leading up to Easter around here.
Yeah, well, it's the year of invitation at Believers. And so part of the invitation, there's lots of invitations that we can extend, but one of those is to people that we know who are either outside of faith or not connected to a spiritual family, a church, and to leverage our influence to invite someone to come and sit with us. And if we believe like what God is doing here is beneficial and helpful to us, then we should be wanting to share that with other people. And so, we're just encouraging everyone to invite someone to come and sit with them. Easter is a great time to do that. If we all did that just this one time, one time this year, and everyone came, that would be like 1,000 new here people that would show up, which would be pretty amazing. And there would be growth on the back end of that. But if we did that, 3-4 times during the course of the year, we could grow by 1,000. And that's really what we've been talking about, is growing from 1,000 to 2,000 in 1,000 days. And that would be like fall of 2027.
Yep.
And, when we moved over here, I'd asked you yesterday about an email that I sent to the staff and elders back in 2011.
Yeah.
And part of what I talked about was, what God wanted to do here. And it included moving to a new location with the acreage that we happen to have and all these things. And the idea was that, if we had the space to grow, which we did not have over at Peak Trail, we could grow to be a church of, easily 2,500.
Yep.
And then we could be set up for whatever God has for us next. And, we're in the space and we have that room, and it's time to do that.
Get after it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing I love about the Who's Your One is, like, we want to be, and I think we are, but we want to be an inviting culture.
Yes.
So all the invites that we hand out and everything, that's fantastic. But the Who's Your One is like that person. And when we started talking about it right at the beginning of the year, like, we've had it on our mind now. And for me, at least, I've been like laying this foundation with my one. And now we get this Sunday coming up that is super easy to invite to. And
it is an easy one. Yep.
I haven't yet felt it on my heart to re-invite this person. Like, I've invited them in the past, like last year, but I've just been kind of just chatting and laying a foundation. And now the timing of it is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Easter's just such a good time to invite. It's one of those natural ones where even if someone's not normally a churchgoer, it seems like an easy yes, because it's just culturally a thing. It's still a thing, even though church attendance has waned and even belief in Jesus has waned. But there's still a cultural awareness, at least, of some significance around Easter. Not we'll talk about that when we get to Easter, but not everyone's aware of what Easter is about. But there's an awareness that it's probably something I should go to church for.
Yeah. Something spiritual.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And I think, Joe, if you want to tell us a little bit about some of the stuff we've got coming up.
Yeah.
Like even just this month, we've got some really exciting, fun things going on that people can be a part of leading up to Easter. Those invites might be a little bit easier than a service invite. And then those could lead to the
Yeah, we also have some fun planned in the community and here at Believers. So we have coming up this Saturday, actually, an extravaganza. Pretty cool pitch here because of our listener pool. We do need some volunteers. You mentioned that yesterday on stage, just a handful because you have to kind of sign up with the city of Suffolk and we only need like 15 total. But otherwise, like we just want to see you there.
Right.
Like this is a partnership we have with Suffolk. We're going to have a ton of volunteer opportunities in the future, but just come as a family. It's going to be a really cool event. We will be there handing out some waters and stuff, but we'd love to see you there. And then the after Palm Sunday, the week of Easter, is also spring break. So we're trying to meet the community right where they're at and see what can we do for spring break. Families might be home hanging out. So by Thursday, they might be ready to get out of the house. And we thought that Thursday leading into Easter, we want to do a spring fling. And that's a full day event. So from 2 to 8 o'clock, we'll be inviting anybody in the family or anybody in the community, all the families to come here. And we got a ton of stuff planned that day and even a date night option if you want to drop your kids off during a select time. You register for that and drop them off and
so
go.
You can't just drop them off at 2 and
can't
come
just
back
drop them
at
off
8.
at 2 and come at 8. No, we got from 6 to 8, though. You can enjoy a nice little date night while we have a movie going and stuff like that for
Maybe
the kiddos.
they could go to a place in Smithfield.
Yeah, 2 hours. Remember, you only got 2 hours. It's tough to get all the way out there.
True, And it's
I know a couple spots, though, if you want to go to Smithfield. Come chat with me. Yeah, and then we got our Good Friday service happening the following day and then Easter Sunday.
Yep.
So we're pretty excited.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And you can find out all about that on our website and check out all the events that we have going on and get registered for the things that you need to be registered for.
Yeah.
Right. But Jamie, you also then kind of moved us into the topic for the day.
Yeah.
And you talked about how the church has widely gotten away from fasting as a spiritual practice.
Right.
But then on the flip side, culture has really kind of stepped into
It's so
fasting.
interesting to me. Yeah.
And so, I think it's like just kind of cool, but then also really odd.
It is. It just is. Yeah.
So, have you guys participated in intermittent fasting? I know, Jamie, you said that you talk about it a little bit on the podcast, how you've done a little bit of that.
Most of my Lenten fast basically is that.
Yeah.
There's some food restriction stuff too, but it's basically intermittent fasting. And so, for the last almost 10 years probably, I've done some of that at least for about 40 days a year. For a while, years ago, I did it at least one day a week, and I kind of got away from that. I'm going to try to re-embrace that this year coming up. But it's been a pretty regular practice for me. And I did mention yesterday, it was remarkable. Last year, my annual physical happened right at the end of my fasting. And I've always had like borderline cholesterol, stuff and not terrible, but it's always just been like, but what was remarkable is, the numbers plummeted all into like super good range, no longer borderline anything. And the doctor's like, oh, whatever you're doing, it's really working. I'm like, I'm not going to be doing it for a long
time.
You're like, enjoy it while it lasts, doc.
And then 6 months later, I go back and the numbers all ticked like right back up. So it does do something.
Yeah. Joey, have you done it before?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of it now. I did. That's my Lent this year is a 16-8, and I know it sounds crazy of me to just eliminate food altogether, but if we're just speaking on the physical benefits of it right now, I've enjoyed that part of it because for me, like you go on these like health kicks and you try to eat better and do all these things, but what gets me out of that rhythm is just how difficult some of it can be.
Yeah.
Like the convenience of getting fast food and stuff is it's a real thing. So just saying, well, how about just not eat for 3/4 of the
Joey
day?
not eating for
I know.
time of day.
Lee's probably loving the budget.
It was, she's loving the budget. Lauren, though, did tell me, okay, I'm not going to schedule any meetings with you from like 10 a.m. to noon.
Joey be real cranky.
Yeah, I'll wait till the afternoon.
Well, it's weird because I've had several friends say that they're not going to get together with me in the evenings until after the. Like, okay.
Because you're cranky in the evening?
No, other restrictions, I think. Yeah. Yeah, they're like, you're not fun. So. Yeah.
Noted.
Yeah, right.
All right. Well, so we moved from some of the health,
I show up with my seltzer.
right, health benefits.
Poppy.
Oh, those things. My niece tried to get me to drink one of those, and I was like, oh, this is terrible.
What is it?
Oh,
Is that
no,
that
Jimmy's
soda?
going to be mad. He loves them.
I
that the
think
soda?
They're probiotics.
Okay, yeah.
right. I
Yeah,
think
I just
if
drink,
I
like-
would have known what it was, I just
Oh, it
You were
hit
not prepared.
took me off guard. I thought it was going to be a regular seltzer, which I love.
Yeah,
like,
I do too.
I love seltzers.
Yeah.
But she was like, and she's 4. She was like, Heather, Aunt Heather, you should try this one. It's lemon lime. It's so great. And I took a drink of it, and I was like, what is this thing?
Didn't someone
Anyway,
just purchase that?
Pepsi, I think.
Yeah, it was like a
Or
big beverage
something.
company
Yeah.
just bought them
Oh,
out.
wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that off topic.
Yeah,
Anyway,
sorry about that.
Another raving review.
they're a big conglomerate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
they can
fine.
handle it.
They might be listening.
They're not a mom and pop shop in Smithfield, Joey.
Oh, boy.
All right. So you brought up Mark Clark, who
Yes.
is a pastor and author,
Mm-hmm.
and he has several wonderful books.
Yes. We did a series on one of his books,
Yes.
The Problem of God.
Yes.
Yep.
And first of all, what a great name.
Yeah.
Mark Clark.
Yeah. I was glad you slowed that one down.
Mark Clark.
Yeah. But you talked about the philosophical ideas about who we are as human beings.
Yeah.
So can you just talk about what those are, and then
Yeah.
how those differ from what the Bible tells us?
Yeah, so he talked about 2 different views in this interview that I was listening to, and one was the naturalist view or the atheistic view, which basically just says that we are what you see. So there's no supernatural, there's no spiritual side of who we are. We're just a body, and when the body's gone, you're gone. Then there's the spiritual view, which is super popular. It's becoming increasingly popular. Americans are saying they're more open to spiritual things, but that's not necessarily like Catholicism or Protestantism or Christianity or whatever. It's just like they're open to the idea of that there is a spiritual realm. But there's a really heavy emphasis on the spiritual over the physical. And so you see that in a lot of the culture things that are going on right now, where your body's just kind of the shell on which your soul dwells. But the emphasis is being true to who you are internally, not necessarily external. Like the external has no bearing whatsoever on identity or any of those things. And so however you're feeling on the inside spiritually, that's the most important thing. And so all soul, no body is basically what that view is. But yeah, the Bible doesn't leave either of those options open to us because we are whole, complete beings. We are body and soul, and Jesus and the Old Testament talk about the most important commandment: love the Lord your God with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength. So yeah, we don't get to parse ourselves out in that kind of way. We're complete beings, and the idea of fasting is this idea where you engage in this spiritual exercise of worship, which is a faith, internal soul kind of thing, but you do it with your physical body. And anything that you can do in your worship of God that engages the whole person, I think there's I think there's a benefit in that.
Do you think there's a reason why there's this seeming uptick in spiritual openness to spirituality right now?
Well, I mean, if there is, my guess is it's the pendulum swinging. Mm-hmm. So there was this whole thing of new atheism, which I also just recently was listening to a British author that Carey Nieuwhof interviewed. That was about like the rapid demise of new atheism, which was a really big thing for about 20 years. Mm-hmm. And a lot of young people deconstructed and started embracing this idea of atheism with some of these authors, Hutchins and others, who wrote books that were big sellers and propagating these ideas of atheism. But I think what happens in the wake of that is there's an emptiness there, and there's no hope, and atheism doesn't answer a lot of questions that we long to have answers to, like purpose, meaning. Why am I here?
Right.
And so atheism does nothing to address, I think, what are hardwired questions that we all long to seek answers for, and I think they're hardwired into us by God himself. Mm-hmm. And atheism just doesn't address what those needs are. And so I think if it's anything, it's, there was this swing towards new atheism, which was pretty rapid. And we saw it in the rise of the nuns. And, we've talked a lot about that here at Believers. And there's been a bunch of books written about it and that kind of stuff. There was there was a rapid decline in faith over the course of the last 20 years, which also, interestingly, is seemingly kind of bottomed out for the first time in the last almost 20 years. Yep. The level of unbelief isn't continuing to increase. It's like kind of leveled off. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's not great news, but it's better than bad news, right?
Yeah, it's not declining.
It's not declining still. So on the backside of that, there's an uptick in interest in spirituality. And I think it is. I think it's a reaction to people are longing to find answers to those things that they're designed to try to understand. And so if they're not going to find it in traditional Christianity, they're going to look for it in other spiritual ways because, well, if there is a spiritual realm, that's where I'm going to find the answers to the thing that I'm looking for.
That's so good.
Yeah. It reminds me of the of Paul's conversation with the philosophers of the unknown God, right? They're like having this, it's their pursuit of that.
Yeah.
And he's like, I know the person you're looking for.
Yeah.
So you also talked about, as you moved us into the conversation for the day, you did hit on this important aspect of fasting, and that was the difference between abstaining and fasting. Yeah. And you took a moment just to kind of differentiate the two. Yeah. So could you just remind us and kind of dig into that a little bit more here?
Anytime you talk about fasting, there are people who will say, I'm going to fast from social media. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty, in our day and time, it's a pretty popular thing for people to do. And I think it's great. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago on the pod too. Like abstaining is great towards some of the other practices of like Sabbath and solitude. Like you have to abstain from some things in order to embrace some of those other disciplines. But I just think like if words really mean things, and I think they do, and when Jesus talked about fasting, well, obviously he wasn't talking about social media, but he wasn't talking about he was talking about food-related things. And so anytime you read about fasting in Scripture, it is food-related. And I think, I don't want to take away from someone who's abstaining or, fasting from something other than food. But I do think there's something very interesting about the stubbornness of us in general to giving up something that is so central to who we are, which is food. On the History Channel, almost at all times, there's, how their series, they just kind of run and repeat all the time. The Food That Built America, right? So, I mean, the whole series of shows about the food that built America, it's so a part of who we are that to give it up seems, so unnatural. And I know a lot of people who really love Jesus and will do just about anything but fast. And I think I think that reveals something about us, and I think it also reveals something about the power of fasting. That if that's the one thing that you're unwilling to do, then that's probably the thing you should do. So like if there's anything that you would say, like, I love Jesus, but, well, then address that thing.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people who take a relatively easier way out of fasting from food by abstaining from something else, I don't know. I just think like it may be worthy of a heart check to just ask yourself, well, why is that one thing the one thing that you're just unwilling to do without?
Yeah, you had a great moment in the message too, where you explained just the power of taking this thing that we need to survive and realizing in this moment that, God, you are more powerful than that.
Yeah, I need you more than I need the thing that you created me to need.
So it makes that makes sense that fasting involves food only. Yeah. But I want to say too that what a great moment to sit there and explain the difference between the two, because I think both are very good in bending towards Jesus heading into Easter. I think they both offer that. Yeah. But we needed to know the difference, because I'm telling you now, just conversations in the Commons tied to like B groups. I know we've talked about it in my group. After a couple of weeks in this series, that is kind of where it feels like we have been trending as a church, is figuring out the difference between the two. So I thought it was a great moment yesterday to break that down.
Yeah. I also love, like, around here, we are cheerleaders for baby steps.
For sure.
So I think, like, if this is something that you're feeling really challenged in doing, like we talk about this in tithing, we talk about this in your prayer journey, we talk about this in the first 15. Like, if that feels like a daunting step right now, if this feels daunting, like, maybe it's not a full meal, maybe it's not for 40 days of the Lenten fast, like maybe it's that you can do this for 3 days. Maybe it's that you can do
one day a week.
Yeah, one day a week, or that you can do a particular food or that kind of thing. So, like, take a baby step in it and let that be what you're doing this year. And then you're going to try something next year that's a little bit different.
Yeah. And speaking of baby steps, it is not too late. I know you said that yesterday, but it's not too late. I know it feels that way just because it's similar to the Bible plan streak tick mark you get. Like you missed part of the amount of days leading up to Easter, but that's not what it's about. Start now.
Yeah,
it can be powerful.
I had a conversation with someone in the comments that resonated with the John story about the chewing gum thing. And she came up to me and she said, "Boy, I really felt pinged by your story about the gum." She said, "When I started the fast, I gave up dark chocolate, and then I discovered milk chocolate." And it was just so great.
Baby step.
So dark chocolate's the one that's good for you.
She was like, "I'm going to rethink my fast now." I said, "Good for you."
I love it.
Yeah, it was so funny.
And even that, like, that we can just be honest in this and, like, say, like, this is how I'm learning and growing, and Jesus is challenging me. I just love that.
So good.
That's right.
Yep. So Jesus said there would be reward for fasting.
Yes.
And not like the benefits that you mentioned at the front end.
Although they could
Jamie.
be.
Yep, they could be. But you said that our big idea for the day was that fasting amplifies God's voice. So in what ways have you guys experienced fasting allows you to hear God's voice more clearly?
Yeah, fasting amplifies prayer both in God's voice and in my voice to Him. So, in putting this message together, the thought just kind of occurred to me, like, why is prayer and fasting often linked in Scripture? And there's got to be some reason for that, like God in his wisdom thought of some reason that fasting should accompany prayer or prayer should accompany fasting. And one of those is that we're able to discern and hear his voice better. And I don't know, like I'm not sure if my hypothesis is true or not, but I do think it's interesting that maybe my body just gets quieter when I'm fasting. And so like there's not energy going to the digestion of food, particularly if you're giving up certain kinds of food that are richer, which is like historically, that's what the church did. They gave up like indulgences, things that were, foods that were creamy and meats and, alcohols and those kinds of things that are harder on your body. Perhaps it's in the quietness of your body. It's not working to, process food. You're able to actually listen into what God is saying to you with your whole body. And so, I gave the example out of Acts chapter 13 where, this group of people were worshiping and fasting and they were able to hear God's voice in a significant way. And we don't know if it was audible. Like we read it and just assume it's audible, but it may not have been. It almost probably wasn't. But they heard specifically what the Holy Spirit was saying to them because they were fasting. God's voice got amplified.
Yeah, and I think that there's a moment there towards the beginning too, at least for me, when you change an eating pattern, a rhythm, so like drastically, then you will have moments at the beginning where when you're turning towards God and God, help me in this, help me understand that you are more powerful than the uncomfortability I'm experiencing right now. And I think I've started to hear him louder and louder as those prayers have kind of changed. Like I'm able to handle it. I understand even the physical of what I'm going through. But for me, on a personal side, the spiritual journey through fasting, I just love that this series was on the backside of the forgiveness series. And I shared in there that I threw in the burn barrel this inability to forgive myself for the past. And like that is, and the room being created now through fasting and through praying, how he's speaking to me, and that part of my journey, it's been really, really good. And I don't know that it would have. I can say it wouldn't have been. It wouldn't have been without the fasting and this series and turn into prayer. For sure.
Yeah. So Jamie, you mentioned that it also amplifies our voice, and you brought us to Mark 9. Yeah. This really just powerful passage there, and to kind of illustrate that. So how does that passage speak to you guys about your own limitations? Like how did that speak to you listening to the message yesterday or preparing it?
And preparing it even. I can certainly relate to the 9 disciples who were not with Jesus during the transfiguration as they're earnestly trying to accomplish a God thing, casting out the demon from this father's son, and unable to get traction in something that's a good thing, a God thing, even something that Jesus empowered them to do, but they were doing it apart from his strength and power. They were doing it in their own strength, apparently, because when they asked Jesus why they couldn't cast out this demon, he said, this kind only comes out by prayer. So it leads you to believe they were not praying as they were doing this thing that only God can do. And so, how many times have I gone through a work day or a work project, and my work happens to be, this weird thing of working for God, and doing it in my own strength, and in doing it in my own strength, getting what only I can accomplish, which is never what God could accomplish, And so, that's my wrestling match every single day of my life, trying to do something in his strength versus my own. And I don't always do a great job of it. And I mean, there are times where, I can work on putting a message together or even like prepping for a Sunday after a message has been put together where it occurs to me, you know what, I haven't even prayed about my delivery of this message.
Yeah.
Like, how am I going into a Sunday where I'm expecting God to do something in the hearts of people without asking him to do that? Like, I actually think my words are going to do something in the hearts of people. That's ridiculous, And so I have to, come to this realization. I probably ought to pray around this thing. Or as I'm prepping a message, like getting 2 points in a message where I'm really stuck on an idea and realizing, like, I need to spend some time praying about this rather than just trying to figure it out. Muscle through it on my own,
Yeah.
So like it's a regular occurrence for me.
Yeah, I loved this passage because it painted the picture of what you're trying to say about the physical and using your entire body and your entire soul. I think they were leaning on their own strength, and so. Yeah, I guess for me, like I'm starting to wrestle already with this question of like maybe like I did see what I thought was like an extreme case of my own limitations, but then I'm like, no, I think it is actually the flip side. Like what my limitations might be a bit bigger. Like I think I might be able to do more than I thought originally. Like with him, with the power of prayer,
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think there's so many times, like you were saying, Jamie, that we just it doesn't even occur to us to include God in on things.
Yeah.
And I say that about the work that we're doing, but that's true if you're sitting at the shipyard or wherever you happen to be.
Or I'm thinking even in like family conversations
100%.
and like
it applies across the board.
Yeah, there's things that I'm just thinking recently of things like with my kids or with things with, family decisions that need to be made about different things. And it's like, if we're not going before the Lord before we have those kinds of conversations, then we're making it so much harder on ourselves.
On your own, you will get what you can accomplish.
Right. Yeah. It's only going to be what Heather's putting into it. And that is never a good thing.
Not enough.
Right.
That's so good.
I just think that's such a good word to have. Just having that prayer and fasting for even what we would consider like the little things.
Yes.
How much more powerful could those things be if we just took the time and had it part of our rhythm?
Yep.
In our daily lives. I just think we could do what you were saying at the beginning of this message, like what if just imagine what could be if this body of believers actually like put this into practice. How could this change not only our church but our community? If we really started seeing this applied to how we did daily life together.
Right.
And we saw that right then. The fasting and prayer led to the spread of the gospel all the way to the Western world, really. It goes right back to that moment where they were challenged to fast and to pray.
Yep.
I mean, revival could come to the 757.
Yep, for sure.
Definitely. Well, that's all we've got time for today, but we are going to continue this series this coming Sunday, and we hope that you will be here on campus at 9 or 10:45, and that you will invite someone to sit with you. And if you can't be here on campus, you can always join us online at 1 o'clock on our YouTube channel. And we also hope that you'll be at Bennett's Creek Park from 11 to 2 this Saturday with your friends and family, because it is going to be a blast. There's going to be an Easter egg hunt and food trucks and face painting and I don't know, all sorts of crazy things, because it's an extravaganza. Who doesn't want to be at that? So until then, go and be love. We'll see you next time, friends.